The scale and the scope of this is really quite extraordinary.
Chinese money launderers have partnered with Mexican drug cartels to efficiently launder the proceeds of the fentanyl trafficking.
Every year, criminals, drug cartels, and corrupt officials make billions of dollars through their illegal businesses. And because this money is dirty, it becomes very dangerous to use it just like that. So criminals have to find a way to make this money appear legitimate so that they can use it without attracting unwanted attention from the authorities or even the public. And this is where the shadow network that moves these billions of dollars in dirty money comes in. I'm going to take you through these systems of money laundering step by step in a moment. But first, let me explain to you what money laundering is like you're a 6-year-old. So let's say you stole $900 from your parents, and you go to school with all this money and start splurging on it. Well, everyone will start asking questions, and this will draw everyone's attention, including the teachers, who will eventually call your parents to find out where you're getting this money from. And just like that, you're bursted. But if you take some of that money and buy some pencils on your way to school and start selling those pencils in school, then you'll splurge however you want, and no one will get suspicious of you, because people will just assume it's pencil money. You're doing business. That's why you have money. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what money laundering is. On the global scale, it's very complicated, but I'll explain all of it to you right now. Now, the methods used today are far more sophisticated than old movie stereotypes. This is no longer just cash in suitcases. It is spreadsheets, invoices, holding companies, cross-border transfers, luxury assets, and professional expertise. Money moves from one country to another through banks, businesses, luxury homes, investment accounts, fake companies, until the trail becomes almost impossible to follow. And because the world moves trillions of dollars every single day, illegal money can hide inside normal financial activity without standing out. This hidden system helps criminals protect wealth, buy property, avoid sanctions, and move money across borders. Iran, North Korea, Lionel Messi, Simon Cowell, Jackie Chan, and many more entities use these tactics to evade sanctions and taxes. I'll tell you more about them later in the video, so subscribe and drop your thoughts down below.
Most laundering systems follow 3 broad stages: placement, layering, integration. First, the money enters the financial system. That could happen through cash-heavy businesses, false sales, crypto exchanges, or trade payments. Then comes layering, the most important stage. Money is moved through multiple transactions, accounts, and countries to make the original source difficult to trace. A transfer from one company becomes a loan to another. That loan becomes payment for consulting. That payment becomes a property purchase. Then comes integration. The money returns looking clean. Now it may appear as investment income, rental revenue, a profitable business exit, or family wealth. By the end, tracing the original crime can be extremely difficult, especially when the trail crosses several jurisdictions with different laws.
One of the most common tools in the shadow network is the shell company, a company that exists on paper but often has little or no real business activity. Used legally, shells can serve legitimate corporate purposes, but abused, they can hide ownership, move funds, and obscure responsibility. Imagine 3 companies, one registered in the British Virgin Islands, another in Cyprus, another in United Arab Emirates. Each owns part of the other, each controlled through nominee directors, each connected to trusts and legal intermediaries. Now ask a simple question: who owns the money? In many cases, the answer becomes surprisingly difficult. That opacity is valuable and profitable.
In 2016, one of the biggest leaks in financial history exposed how widespread this world had become. Known as the Panama Papers, millions of documents from law firm Mossack Fonseca revealed offshore structures linked to politicians, business figures, and wealthy clients around the world. Not every offshore structure was illegal. That distinction matters. But the leak showed how secrecy tools could be used to hide assets, avoid scrutiny, and distance owners from wealth. The fallout was global. Investigations, resignations, public outrage, and one uncomfortable truth: the system was not fringe, it was mainstream.
Many people assume dirty money survives only in obscure institutions, but history shows major financial institutions can also become gateways when controls fail. In 2012, HSBC agreed to a major settlement with U.S. authorities over anti-money laundering failures tied in part to cartel-linked funds and sanctions compliance issues. In another case, Danske Bank became associated with one of Europe's largest suspicious transaction scandals through its Estonian branch. These cases do not mean banks are criminal enterprises. They mean something else. Large systems process enormous volumes, and when incentives prioritize growth, weak controls can become catastrophic. Sometimes the question is not whether rules exist, it is whether they are enforced fast enough.
Dirty money often wants stability, and few assets offer that, like property. Luxury apartments, office towers, land, prime city addresses. Real estate can store wealth, appreciate over time, and sometimes be purchased through layered ownership structures. That is why cities such as London, Dubai, Miami, and Vancouver have repeatedly faced scrutiny over anonymous or opaque property ownership. Again, not every foreign purchase is suspicious, but secrecy combined with weak transparency creates opportunity. And when enough illicit capital enters housing markets, ordinary citizens may feel the effects through higher prices and reduced affordability.
One of the most powerful laundering methods does not look criminal at all. It looks like trade. A company exports goods worth $100,000, but invoices show $500,000. Another shipment is underpriced. A third shipment never existed. Money now moves internationally under the cover of commerce. This is known as trade-based money laundering, and it is difficult to detect because global trade is massive. Millions of containers, millions of invoices, thousands of ports. Legitimate complexity creates camouflage. A false invoice can disappear inside normal commerce, which makes customs enforcement and data sharing critical, but difficult.
When countries face sanctions, alternative networks often emerge. Intermediary traders, front companies, shipping relabeling, complex ownership chains, cargo transferred ship to ship. These methods have been used in cases involving sanctions on states such as Iran, North Korea, and Russia. The point is not always ideology. Often it is profit. Where legal barriers rise, brokers appear. Where access is restricted, middlemen charge premiums. And once money enters these gray channels, tracing it becomes harder.
Then came a new variable: Bitcoin and the wider crypto ecosystem. Crypto can offer speed, borderless transfer, and varying levels of anonymity, depending on tools used. It also creates transparent public ledgers in many cases, which investigators increasingly use. So, crypto is not simply a criminal tool. It is more complicated than that. But ransomware groups, fraud rings, and laundering networks have used digital assets to move value quickly. As regulation increases, the battle has shifted from whether crypto matters to who can monitor it effectively.
Perhaps the most uncomfortable part of the shadow network is this: it often requires respectable people. Lawyers drafting structures, consultants arranging entities, accountants managing flows, brokers introducing clients, compliance officers missing red flags. Most professionals operate legally and ethically, but even a small number of willing enablers can multiply criminal reach. Because organized crime does not always need more criminals. Sometimes it needs expertise.
So why not just shut it down?
Because the network is fragmented. One country strengthens rules, funds move elsewhere. One bank tightens checks, another institution takes the business. One secrecy tool closes, a new instrument appears. Enforcement also faces a mismatch. Criminal and corrupt networks can move quickly. Governments often move slowly. They require cooperation, evidence thresholds, court processes, diplomatic coordination. And while authorities coordinate, money keeps moving. Dirty money is often discussed as numbers, billions here, millions there, but the real cost is human. When public funds are stolen, hospitals may not be built. When criminal groups profit, violence can grow. When housing becomes a vault for hidden wealth, families can be priced out. When corruption spreads, trust declines. Money laundering is not just about finance. It is about what societies lose. There has been progress. Governments now demand more beneficial ownership disclosure. Banks invest heavily in compliance systems. International bodies such as Financial Action Task Force pressure countries to improve standards. Investigative journalists and whistleblowers have exposed networks once thought untouchable. Data analytics has improved tracing. Cross-border cooperation has expanded. But progress remains uneven because transparency often threatens profitable interests, and profitable interests rarely surrender quietly. The popular image of dirty money is men in dark rooms counting cash, but the modern reality is different. It can wear a suit, it can own property, it can sit in respected markets, it can pass through legal instruments. The shadow network does not always operate outside the system. Often it hides inside it, using complexity as cover, using legitimacy as camouflage, using speed as protection. Every society depends on trust. Trust that markets are fair. Trust that laws apply equally. Trust that crime does not quietly buy influence. But when hidden money moves freely, that trust erodes. Not all at once, quietly, gradually, transaction by transaction, property by property, transfer by transfer. And that may be the greatest danger of all, because the shadow network is not dangerous only for the billions it moves. It is dangerous for the rules it weakens. The world's dirtiest money rarely hides in darkness. It hides in systems bright enough to look legitimate. And that is why stopping it is so difficult.